Today's devotion is part 2 of the Arwen ride. So I called it the Arwen ride part 2. If you did not hear yesterday's podcast episode or didn't see it online, it was called the Arwen ride part 1. And I shared yesterday how that yesterday's podcast, as well as today's episode or devotions, are literally one of my favorite in my entire book. Now, I have multiple favorites, but these 2 days really are one of my favorite. In fact, if you have a signed copy of my devotional, at the top of the signature page, I will make reference to the Arwen ride. And basically, I write a message: may you always have an Arwen kind of faith. And I just love the thought of an Arwen kind of faith. And so I hope you enjoyed yesterday's podcast, and we're kind of continuing on with that theme, if you will. So we're on day 205. We're on July the 25th, and the morning rinse is 2 Kings 5 through 8. And the featured verse is 2 Kings 6:17. Then Elisha prayed and said, "O Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see." And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Okay, so we read yesterday in my devotional, or the episode was about a near death or a death situation. So once again, we read a story where death is at the heels of someone's life. And the story surrounding today's featured verse is around the time that Elisha warned the king of Israel to stay guarded while at this specific location. So he was giving him a warning and helping him out. And the reason for this warning was because the king of Aram was out to kill him. And Elisha knew this in the spirit, and so he warned the king to be careful around this area because he was, on target. And when the king of Aram heard Elisha was helping the king of Israel, this made him furious. And so he planned to capture Elisha by sending an army of horses and chariots to surround the city that he and his servants were lodged in. Well, when Elisha's servant woke up the next morning and saw the enemy's army, he panicked. But Elisha saw something different on the horizon, and he prayed, which is the featured verse. He prayed that God would open up the servant's eyes so that the servant would see what he saw. Elisha saw something different on the horizon, and his eyes were not on the enemy's army. They were on the chariots of God's army filling the mountainside. So yesterday we watched the Arwen ride scene from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And just like Arwen believed in the power of the water coming to help her save Frodo at the end of that scene, we must also believe in the power of our Father. We must begin to open our eyes to the spiritual realm and see where our help comes from. May we see the mountains full of horses and chariots of fire ready to go to battle for our lives. And I'm praying, God, that the Lord would help us to see him at work in our lives, even amid hard situations in our lives. Help us to see your provision, Father, when the enemy is at work to destroy us or our loved ones. This story of faith is, I don't know, I just love it. And I love this scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. And Arwen is one of my favorite characters. She probably is my favorite character in all of the whole trilogy. So we're going to extend the challenge. Today's challenge to dig deeper is to watch the Arwen ride scene again from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And when you're watching the scene this time, take note of the water horses that are coming to kill the enemy in the 11th hour of the scene. If you noticed the water horses that were there, and as you watch it, ask God to help you see his chariots battling for you in your situation. Watch this scene again and just really ask, God to give you that kind of faith. And then sometime today, whether that be, going to a thrift store or just while you're at the supermarket, or even if you look online somewhere, ask God to help you find something that is tangible that you will, that you can use, that will remind you to keep your eyes focused on God's chariots. I'll show you what I bought, which is this shirt. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's I got a picture of Arwen on it. I purchased this t-shirt, and it's Arwen holding a sword. And this t-shirt reminds me that I have an Arwen kind of faith inside of me. And when I pull it out and I wear it, I feel it's such a great reminder to have an Arwen kind of faith, and that I too have that inside of me. I just need to use it. And so I love this shirt. As you can see, it's pretty tattered and torn. I'll probably need to get another one soon. But it's something tangible that I bought to remind me that I have an Arwen kind of faith inside of me. And I pray that you find something as well, and that you can be reminded that you have an Arwen kind of faith inside of you as well. And that we use it, that we tap into it and we pull it out and we use it. And so that's the challenge today. Watch the Arwen ride scene again, and then find something that is going to remind you that you have an Arwen kind of faith inside of you as well. And when you pull out your journal and when you reflect on this, write down what struck out to you about this scene that may have been a little different from yesterday's devotion about this clip. Did something else stick out to you that ignited your faith a little bit more? What was this scene? What was it maybe that was a little different today than yesterday? And I hope that your faith is stirred inside of you. I hope that you know that you are a powerhouse, and you have that kind of faith in you as well, and that God will show up when, in your situation. And I just pray that you see all of God's horses and chariots on the mountaintop going to battle for you and your situation. And I'm praying that for all of you listening and watching online as well. And be sure and continue to share my podcasts with other people who need to be encouraged, because that's how we get the word out, and that's how we encourage other people, whether that's on the podcast or on YouTube. Be sure and share it with others. And, it's the link is in the show notes or the comments to get one of the devotionals. And I truly hope that the last couple of days with the Arwen ride message and faith, I hope that it encouraged you to realize that you too have an Arwen kind of faith inside of you as well. And until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.